Is sewing actually worth it? Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. So if you're new here, hi, I'm Hannah and thank you for joining me. So today I wanted to go through some of my previous makes, how much they cost, is it more cost effective to sew or is it more cost effective to buy clothes in shops. I've got some examples, some price comparisons, and I thought it would just be an interesting one to go through and give some tips on how to make sewing cost effective, as sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. So the first item that I'm going to tell you about is the first one that I made this year, and that is my sister's prom dress. So this was a navy blue Duchess satin sort of 1950s gown. I haven't got it here to show you, but I will pop some cutaways of the garment sort of to the side of me, so hopefully you can see what I'm on about as I go through them. So this dress cost to make around £73. If I'm going exact, it was £73.29. So I then looked online to see sort of what the comparable options were in the high street, what we could buy that was sort of a similar quality, similar style. So if I'm honest, this was the hardest piece to find an alternative for. The one that I found in the end was from Corset, and it was a full skirt satin dress that was sort of tea-length, similar to the one that I made for Alex. And this dress at full price cost £159. So that's already more expensive than the dress that I made. And then also on top of this, for a garment like this, I'd say that if you were comparing to the high street, you might be able to get something cheaper on the high street, but to get it fitted as well, you'd be adding an alteration cost of maybe £35–40. And that could be a lot more than that depending on what alterations needed doing. So for that dress, I'd say absolutely it was cost effective, it was cheaper to make. The next garment that I made this year was some wide leg linen trousers, which I have here. Again, I will show you at the side what they look like on. So these cost me £57.98 to make, which sounds like quite a lot for a trouser, although linen is very much one of the more higher quality fabrics and you do expect to pay that sort of premium price for it. I had a look online and these were much easier to find sort of alternatives that were very similar to what I made, and it sort of varied. So the cheapest option was Fat Face, and that was £65. When I say cheapest option, you can get linen look trousers for a lot cheaper, but to actually get 100% linen, it's a higher price point. So that was what I was checking when I was looking these things, checking that the fabric was comparable to what I used. So Fat Face had them for £65, which is sort of on a level to what I made them for. Then you sort of go up a level, and Hobbs had some that were very similar for £85. So again, a bit more money, made these seem a little bit cheaper. And then the top sort of price point that I found some at was Anthropology, and they were £120. So again, makes these ones seem a lot cheaper, although the original £57 sounds quite expensive and it's a bit like, oh, are those trousers worth it? The other thing that I'm going to say and I'm going to mention throughout is whether I wear these garments a lot and whether to me they're worth it for what they cost. These linen trousers I wear probably weekly at work, so I've definitely got a lot of wear out of them. They've washed really well, they iron up really smartly, like there's no signs of wear and tear, and they don't look like they've aged anything since I made them probably back in May time. So these have been a really good make, and yes, they're coming in cost effective. I made a lot of trousers this year, as that was something that was very much missing from my wardrobe. So the next pair are these blue slim leg trousers made from a woolen and elastane mix fabric. So being a woolen fabric, it's quite a high quality premium sort of price point and fabric. These again I've worn probably weekly and they've washed really well. They haven't got any bobbling yet. and they still look really, really smart. So again, from that point of view, very, very happy with these. They are the quality that you'd expect from higher premium products. The cost of these, they were actually quite cheap in comparison to the linen trousers, as they only cost £42.14. So I think a lot of that's to do with the fact they've got less fabric in them, but actually not too expensive, although you're still looking at higher than your sort of high street brands. As far as finding an alternative, to find an alternative in a woolen fabric I actually found quite difficult, and the alternative I found in the end was very, very similar to the ones that I made, and that was by a company called Jigsaw, which I've heard of before, seen in places like John Lewis. Again, they're sort of like high-end high street sort of price mark, and the trousers were £120. So that makes these ones seem a lot cheaper. Very much worth it, value for money wise. The ones that I saw on Jigsaw were also navy blue, very, very similar fit, very, very similar fabrics. So yeah, these ones, very, very good make, and you feel like you've made a difference by making things rather than have I actually saved anything. The other thing to note is sewing's very much a hobby, so if things do cost more, does it actually matter, or are you paying for the hobby as you would anything else? So it's always nice to feel like you've saved money and that you're getting clothes for a cheap price point that are higher quality and stuff like that, but at the same time you're like, well, this is what I enjoy doing, so obviously I'm going to spend my money on it and I'm going to be happy spending my money on it. This next one was a bit of a different make for me, and it shows a different perspective on it. So this was a corset top, again made in the linen fabric, exactly the same as these wide leg trousers, and the fabric was about £20 a metre. So this corset top came in at £42. So quite expensive for a little cute top. I have also not got anywhere out of this so far. I don't know why. I feel like there's lots of ways to style it. Maybe I've not been out enough. Maybe I feel like it's quite dressy and I need to get out. It looks amazing with the linen trousers. I've just not had the opportunity to wear it. I think it might be more of a spring top. So maybe sort of back end of the winter when we're coming into spring, I might sort of revive it and get a lot more wear out of it. But this one came in at £42.03. So quite expensive. I still really like it, but when looking at the alternatives you could buy on the internet, there was a linen corset top, very similar on Abercrombie and Fitch, and that one was £39. So very much in the same ballpark, but that does not make us feel like the corset top was as cheap to make and as cost effective. I think a lot of that comes down to making sort of high street trends rather than something that's a little bit more higher end or classic. So I think the rest of the pieces in this sort of collection are either sort of very classic pieces like the trousers that I've just shown you, or they've got something about them design wise and it puts them towards the more special sort of focus pieces that you could invest in. So those two categories seem to be a little bit more cost effective, whereas corset tops were very much a high street trend over summer. That's why I wanted to make one, and it's just they're available a lot cheaper, so you don't feel like you get the your money's worth as much out of it. But I still love this. I will be wearing it. I just need to find the right time and moment to wear it. The next item I'm going to show you, and probably the next item that I made this year, are some pink trousers. So these are pink flared trousers made out of tencel fabric. So I was very intrigued with tencel because it's very much known for its sustainability, which is something that very much I want to look into and try and be more sustainable with my clothing. So this was a great one to start with. The trousers are quite a statement piece. As I was saying earlier, my pieces seem to be either like classic or statement. I'd say pink flared trousers, more of a statement piece. But when looking at price comparisons, it was quite interesting. So when looking at sort of tencel trousers, you could get some cheapish ones. So M&S had a pair at about £35. But they were much more basic, much more classic. Whereas when you looked for something of like a pink flared trousers, you're looking at a much higher price point because of that design and aesthetic more than the fabric. The quality's got to be there as well, but you're paying for the design rather than just the fabric quality. So these trousers cost to make £55.49. The M&S tencel ones cost £35, which is obviously a lot cheaper. But then for a pink flared trouser, the ones that I found were on Anthropology and they were £120. So that then makes these seem quite cheap. As far as the fabric and how it's held out, this fabric didn't have as much stretch in it as was needed for a trouser. So they have pulled a little bit at the seams. They're not lasting as long as I'd want them to. It's probably the only garment out of all of these that I'm showing you that's got wear and tear and shows that it's been worn a few times. Wash wise, it's washed fine, but as far as the seams and the pulling, you can tell that there's been stretch. It's been stretched a little bit and pulled out of shape. So not quite as great investment piece, but I have got the wear out of these. I have loved these over the summer and have started styling them up more like autumn winter wise with jumpers and stuff now. So do really love these. They are cost effective for the style, but you can buy trousers of the same fabric for a lot cheaper. Okay, so the last piece that I'm going to show you is my favourite of everything that I've made, and by the looks of your reactions to my last video, it's your favourite too. So it is this Tartan Blazer, which is double-breasted. It's got little pocket flaps, it's got beautiful button details and buttons on the cuff as well. It's fully lined and just a really, really beautiful statement piece. So I knew exactly where to find the alternative for this blazer, as it was very much based off a style that a brand does that I absolutely love, and that is Holland Cooper. So this blazer cost to make £93.46. So is it an investment? Absolutely. The fabric that was used was 100% wool, and then it's got fully lined, it's got beautiful buttons on, which were about £1 each, which adds up when you've got like 6 down the front and 6 on the cuffs. So it had a few different bits in that you were paying for, and it came to £93.46, which isn't too bad, especially when you look at the alternative blazer, which is very, very similar shape-wise. It's a double-breasted blazer, again in a tartan fabric. Theirs is blue and green rather than having red going through it. And they sell their blazers at Holland Cooper for £599, which makes my blazer seem so cost effective and so much cheaper. I saw the Holland Cooper blazer when they first brought out this tartan print and absolutely fell in love with it, but sadly that is not my price bracket at all. So to be able to create something very, very similar for a fraction of the price is really where the sewing comes into play, and it really becomes worth making your own garments. So very, very happy with this one. Absolutely love it. I've only had it for about a week and yet I've worn it about 4 times. So that shows how obsessed I am with it. But yeah, hopefully this video has shown you how some items can be worth it, some less so. It all depends on sort of the fabric quality, whether it's classic or a statement piece, and trying not to fall into all the high street trends, as these will be cheaper to buy as they're sort of mass produced and normally in sort of cheaper fabrics. So I hope you've enjoyed. If you have, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!